This episode of the Always Go Big interview podcast, I have the special privilege of interviewing two of my pals, two of my mates, two of my buds that were a part of the 90-day video challenge. Hashtag 90-day video challenge. For those of you who are thinking about doing video and releasing your personal brand, launching your personal brand on social media, on the digital platforms, you need to watch this interview. It's the story of three guys that decided that they would do a video every day for 90 straight days. And we did it! That's what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Always Go Big interview podcast.
You are watching the Always Go Big interview podcast. It's an interview with those who have big dreams. My name is Troy Ritchie, and I'm a future filmmaker with enormous aspirations. Join me in receiving inspiration from some of the most influential people with big dreams of their own. Learn how to overcome negative self-talk, remain focused, and accomplish everything you've ever dreamed possible by their example. If you ever wanted to be a part of someone before they broke big, now's your chance on the Always Go Big interview podcast.
And some of you can remember, I was like, hey, should I do a 90-day video challenge? And I thought to myself, I had already done 4 days in a row. So I don't know about you guys, I put zero thought, complete impulse, was just like, nah, yeah, I'll do it. And then Nick, you saw my post, and tell the story of you just were like, I mean, how did it happen for you?
I don't know. For me, I had seen your post, I think, is when you're actually in Napa, right? And you're standing in your Columbia rain jacket or Patagonia or whatever you got there, and you're standing on the side of Napa Valley. And, you know, you said that you were going to go ahead and do 90 days of video straight. And I saw you had someone else had actually commented on your post, and you asked them if they were in. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know, I have done video before. I've done presentations, spoke to large groups. One thing that I have never done is actually done video on social media. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know, screw it. I'm in on this challenge. I have no idea how the heck I'm going to do it. You know, my production value with video goes, you know, it starts probably back in the early 2000s with the first iMac. Okay. You know, the little clear plastic one was a blue one. So that was my video editing and video experience. For me, most of my background's in audio. You know, I host a podcast, so I figured what way better to reach out, and instead of people just hearing me talk, they can actually see me and hear me talk at the same time.
Absolutely. And then Alan, I believe you came in from Nick's video. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So I just seen one of Nick's posts, and then, you know, he tagged yourself in and saying that, you know, he's starting this 90-day challenge. And it was quite late, really, in the evening in the UK. And I just thought, you know what, I need to push myself a little bit more. I need to do something out of my comfort zone. So why not? So I just, like you, bit like you, impulse, you know, I hadn't really thought about it, thought the implications of doing 90 days. I just jumped on and did it. And, you know, stupidly, possibly, but yeah, that was it. Just
that is so incredible. So, Nick, how much thought did you put into it, or was it like Alan and myself? Was it kind of an impulse?
I don't know if I put much thought into it at all. You know, I do stupid things all the time, so I figured why not just do another stupid thing? That's about how much thought I put into it. Yeah. I didn't think about that. You know, I actually had to follow through. I'm the kind of guy that once I commit and I'm going to do something, I'm just going to do it. You know, kind of like that, you know, that Marine Corps saying it's embrace the suck. You know, I just kind of went with that.
That's right. So I just want to point this out because my what I do, and we'll find out a little more about what you guys do in your vocation, is I'm an audience engagement expert. And I tell people all the time, ignore the views and just impact one person's life. We literally, there's 3 squares on this Zoom call, and it was a domino where I impacted Nick and Nick impacted Alan. And I find that is, to me, the most rewarding part of this journey, is that we impacted the lives of others. Share with us, Alan, we'll start with you. What is the greatest return through this whole thing for you in doing this 90-day video challenge?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest return was, the community that we built up because, you know, going on the journey and I think given the time like that we're in this middle of this pandemic at the moment, and I've noticed that loads of people are jumping on doing video challenges or, actually doing video content, and that's one of the biggest things, the fact that we've not been pioneers because we haven't, but
Right.
that's the way it feels like, that we did something really big and now we can maybe share our experience with other people who are going through their own little journey and challenge now. So that's really the biggest impact I think it's had on me is our community that we've forged.
Yeah. I mean, you're in the UK, ready to go to bed, and you're on the East Coast, right? I'm on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Tremendous. So, how about Nick? How about you on the kind of the return on investment?
For me, I didn't realize how many people I'm never a person who looks at numbers and tries to count that I need more engagement. Like, why am I doing this? Because it seems like LinkedIn just hates video. If you do a text post, you throw that up there, you get, like 3 times the views, at least for me, more than video. And I just threw out the window and I figured it's a way for people to see who I actually am, right? I can type everything that I want to and text and people can read it however they want to read it. But being in front of people and doing video kind of builds that personal connection. And that's what I really wanted to do with it. And then I didn't realize how many people were passively enjoying my content. Like I literally got on a call yesterday for my day job and somebody's like, oh, I really liked all those videos that you did. And, I'm kind of sad that it's done. And that person liked one of my videos. He liked one of my videos in the very beginning. So, I mean, it's just interesting to see, outside of the engagement, the likes, like the vanity metrics that people are still, consuming your content. They might not just be, engaging on it.
Sorry to jump in there. It's a really interesting point because I found that as well, that loads of people would not interact with it, but yet they'd ping me a private message and they'd be like, oh, I really like what you're doing, with your videos. And it, like you say, one particular person messaged me and, never commented or liked on any of the videos, but yet obviously watched every single one. So it's quite interesting that you see, people are watching, not necessarily engaging.
That is true, and that's what kind of kept me going throughout. So one of the questions we have is, what was your best video? Now, best is subject to however you want to define it, whether it was the one you felt most confident about, the one that had the most engagement, the most views, however you want to define it. For me, the best video was it was literally the same day that I got news that I was being laid off from my day job, and I saw it coming. I mean, they were incredible. The company was incredible in what they did and taking care of me and our whole team. So there was no bitterness there, and I wanted to do something ridiculous, and so I gave away my coaching program for free up until the end of this month. And I just wanted to stay in that theme. And I don't remember, but it was a video where I was doing the laundry. And the funny story on that is that you'll see me start the load. I forgot to put the clothes in the actual washer. And so it did the whole cycle. I got more comments. Again, none of my posts went viral or really exploded. I got more direct comments about how much that touched people on that, now is the time to give, go above and beyond and give. So that was my best video. Let's say, Nick, we'll start with you. What was your best video of all the 90 videos? So
my best video, it was probably the funnest one to make, and it was my best performing, was my IT support video, a day in the life of IT support. At the beginning of my technology career, that was basically my life. And when I posted that, it instantly just related with a lot of people, and a lot of people started sharing it. And that's probably my most commented on the video too. And I'll probably have to do a part 2 at some point as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Alan, how about you? Best video?
This video probably was my first Saturday shout out in terms of pure numbers, it was the best performing video throughout the whole challenge. And also it was kind of the starting point where I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a regular theme within the 90 days. So I'm quite glad that I continued that theme. So every Saturday night, I'm just trying to shine a light on one of my connections who I thought was doing something really good or have done something quite fun in the week prior to the Saturday.
Yeah, I think I loved your Saturday shout out. You probably are going to continue. I would absolutely continue because I think that what we have done, accident or on purpose, people are going to look to us for any type of question. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you guys on, the hope that you guys can give, right? Because a lot of people see the videos, and I know that some of them think to themselves, I can do that, and I can do it better than Troy. And they're right. They can absolutely do better. And so one of the reasons I want to get you guys on is to share your story. You weren't doing a lot of video, especially you, Alan. When was your last video? When was the time between a video that you did on social and then the 90-day challenge? How long? What was the span of that?
I think it was probably about 8 months. I think about 8 months prior to doing the challenge, I did a 7 days video challenge, and I thought that was quite tough. But I thought, you know what, I did enjoy it, and then I thought I've just got to do it, you know. So coincidentally, Nick was doing it, so let's just do it. And I'm glad I've done it now, because it's one of them things, you know, like you say, it puts you in the spotlight. You've got to push on through, and I think there's been a lot of good from it in terms of the way that I feel about video and like being on camera. I was really nervous on camera, to be fair, and I still am, but it definitely got that out of the way, you know. Like you say, you know, you just get on and do it, because at the end of the day, what does it matter who's going to see it? It's only yourself, so just do it.
And I think both of you, Nick, you know, you don't do a lot of social video, but obviously you're with your podcast and your experience on video, it shows. What was overcoming any fears? Like what type of fears did you have to overcome? Were there any? And mainly you're talking to those that are on the fence. Should I, not a challenge, we're not suggesting you do a 90-day challenge, just starting to do video. What did you have to overcome?
I think for me, it was just, you know, I'm used to talking into a microphone, which I have here for doing this for podcasting. And for some reason, when I put that camera up and I look at the lens, I would just stumble all over my words and say, and use fillers and, you knows. And it took me maybe like 25 videos before I even got through any of that. And it just reminded me, like, you know, when I started my podcast, you know, the first few hi, how you doing? The first few episodes, you know, of that weren't very good. You know, I feel like when people go to start things, they always expect to be, you know, the best content producer or the best podcast or something, and realize that everybody started somewhere. My first few videos weren't that great. You know what? That's fine. You know, I got better as I went. You know, so if people are out there scared, don't worry about quality. Don't worry about having the best camera or the best microphone. Just use whatever you have and make something. Just put it out there.
That's right. The content, trumps everything, in my opinion. And I say that because I'm not like you guys, where I see your advances in the videos coming out each day, getting so much better technology-wise. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. You know, I'm working on my content. So that's what I always say. Now, we've talked about the best video. Now let's talk about the worst video, and I'll start. I put and I'm sharing with you my worst video based on expectations of engagement. That's how I'm doing it. You guys can do however you want to describe it. I don't know if you remember, it was a series, the Buyer's Journey series. And and that's what I'm an expert at, audience engagement. And, you know, I love challenging the old school sales pitch mindset, and that we as buyers control that instead of let me pitch you. And I put so much into it, and the engagement was putrid. I mean, like what? Am I in LinkedIn jail again? I mean, it just was so bad. And I put so much time into it. That was the one time that I did on a Sunday before church. I drove to our early 5 a.m. and I recorded all 6 episodes in one sitting and edited it. And I was like, oh, this week is going to be chill. And I dropped them every day, and just the engagement was so poor. And I was like, man. And then, you do something that you don't put a lot of effort in, and the views are way higher. So that was my worst video, the Buyer's Journey series. I think, Nick, it's your turn. What was your worst video? And again, you put the definition of worst however you want.
Yeah, so I think for me, my worst video is I was quoting this motivational speaker called Les Brown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. And I said he was dead, which he is most certainly not dead. And I went out and I recorded that video out in public. And it took me a long time just, to muster up the courage to do this in public, because I was outside downtown Washington, D.C., out in the National Mall. Yeah. And it was a beautiful 70-degree day in January, which never happens. And I just fumbled all over my words, and I didn't get high engagement on that whatsoever. And it was one of my first couple of videos. And it was one of those things where, I just put that in the back of my head, and I was like, forget this. Let's on to the next video, because you got to do so many of them. Yes. I didn't really think about it again. I was like, well, you know what? I made some corrections when I posted the text. I'm like, I'm not re-recording this. I said he was dead. He is most certainly not dead. But let's go on to the next one. So awesome. that was probably my worst video, and it took me a couple times to shoot that, because I'm standing here in this garden. I don't know if you've been to National Mall, Troy, but this Washington Monument, Smithsonian Castle are kind of on the mall area. And I'm pointing to do this thing, and this old lady just walks by, and she's just staring me down the whole time I'm trying to do this. So that was probably my worst video. It took me a while to get through and record that one, probably my whole 1 hour lunch break.
Yeah. Alan, how about you? Worst video?
I've had quite a few, to be fair. I've had quite a couple that I've cringed at and thought, oh, that was terrible. A couple of really bad ones. Probably the TikTok ones that I did, that was just, it's a crazy app, but it was just, the content wasn't actually good, and it bombed anyway, which I'm probably kind of glad at. But a bit like yourself, Troy, to be honest, I did, I'm a quality manager, so I did a bit of a Plan, Do, Check, Act series, and that bombed out as well in terms of performance, and my expectations of it were probably better than they were on reflection. But yeah, I've had quite a few dodgy videos.
Yeah,
but they all count.
We all have, Alan. We all have. So it's fine.
Absolutely. How about toughest day? I was in my prep. I was kind of thinking about, and I think for me, the toughest. There's not one day that stands out, and I never really had I never got stuck. I always could record on something. But for me, being in the West Coast and then looking at my, I'd be working and then I'd look up and it's 2:00 and I hadn't done it yet. Those were tough days, because I knew that the East Coast was already kind of checking out off LinkedIn. And I knew that my best engagement is when I'm posting at 8 or 9 a.m. So my toughest days were when it's oh shoot, it's 3 to 4 p.m. and I gotta do a video. So that would be my toughest day. Alan, do you recall one day in particular? I know you did an incredible video on one of those days.
Yeah, to be fair, that was probably my worst day. It was day 72, and I think it was 72, and I just had a really bad day work-wise, because it was really busy, and most of my videos are posted late in the evening because I work full-time. I've got a young family. So the opportunity for me to record, post, edit the videos are really 8 o'clock onwards in the UK. So I've got a small window, and then there was just one day I just couldn't be bothered. I'd had a really bad day in work. I'd had not a bad day in work, but I just had a tiresome day, and then children were playing up a little bit, shall we say, being delights, and then I just had no energy. So I just thought, I can't be bothered. So I just literally filmed myself, got no energy, don't want to do a video. But I thought that's going to be the best way of doing it, because then it actually puts on camera exactly how I'm feeling, and I guess that kind
great.
of embodies the
Yeah.
challenge itself, because it isn't all roses, and it's hard to do it, so.
Now, I have to ask, and this call is not going to get into numbers and that type of thing. Was that higher received?
Yeah, I had quite a lot of engagements on that. In terms of performance, it was probably 60% in like the whole 90 days. So it wasn't the best performing, but it was not the worst by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I think, I'm a big fan of being real. My buddy, Peter Lynch, Nick knows him as well, is writing a book called The Ugly Advantage. And that's what he talks about, is the authenticity in that video was so good. I mean, you've been authentic, not that Nick and I are not, but I think that one of you, and I think I commented on this, that's your it factor, Alan. 100% is your authenticity, and you're going to relate to the average Joe more than someone that's really flashy and trying to do, blah, blah, blah. And that's tremendous. So let's piggyback that. Nick, did you share your toughest day?
I did not. But
yeah, share us. Come on, we got to hear this one.
So for me, I don't know if I have a toughest day. For me, my day job's IT, and so when this whole pandemic thing shifted to everybody trying to work at home, and that increased in my day job responsibilities. For my day job, we started running a lot more webinars, doing more Zoom training and everything. So my volume of workload, like, I feel like it doubled when work shifted to home. When I'm like, I'll have more time to record video and use my camera and edit it, and it wound up being completely the opposite. So there's a lot of times where I was editing videos after my son went to bed at like 7 p.m. Eastern time and not posting it till 8, just to make sure I could get through the video. And then, I was making sure to post when I could actually engage with people. I didn't want to post, like do the whole thing, like let's post it at 8 a.m. and record a bunch. I wanted to post when I was available to record. So for me, when the whole pandemic thing started, that really like just shifted how much content creation I could do. And before that, I was literally shooting every video every day. And when my workload shifted, I had to then kind of break that cycle and chunk videos together and record one day and edit one day. Because initially in the challenge, I was literally doing them every day and editing them every day.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Now I want Alan to go last on this next question. And mine's an easy answer. I never had thoughts of giving up. I mean, it just never came to me, because there are some videos, as you have seen, where they're 15 seconds or they're not edited. TikTok saved me probably 15-20% of the time, and some of them aren't appropriate for LinkedIn. I don't care. I mean, I honestly don't care about that. My numbers are not that high where it's going to really affect my personal brand. So I didn't really have thoughts of giving up. And so, Nick, did you at any time have thoughts of, you know what, this isn't worth it?
I wasn't going to quit. I never had that in my mind the whole time doing this challenge. Some things were challenging, but I knew that there's more difficult things that I had going on. I mean, between doing the videos, I was also producing a podcast, recording podcast episodes, editing them. So I had a whole nother content creation thing going on outside of what I was doing on LinkedIn. And for me, it was just a non-factor. I just wasn't going to do it.
Did you
I made a commitment to myself, and I posted it socially that I was going to do 90 days and I was just going to do it.
Yeah. Did you ever use let's call them fillers, like on a TikTok where you're like, shoot, I'm just going to end it? Or was it for you still the same type of process for every video?
Yeah. So I only used one filler. And that was, I made I set up my barbecue grill, and I was trying to figure out how to use TikTok anyways. And I was sitting there with my wife, and I had made, this was on St. Patrick's Day. So I smoked my corned beef for like 8 hours, and I was sitting outside, and it was a beautiful day in Washington, D.C. And my wife was like, "Have you made your video yet today?" And I was like, "Oh, I have not."
That's a good wife.
And I had all of this, footage where I had just taken like a B-roll of my smoker, and I was going to post something.
Yeah.
And literally TikTok saved me for that, because that was probably like, I don't know, like 8:30 at night.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I was not going to be making any video. But the thoughts of quitting that never crossed my mind. I was just going to embrace the suck and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alan, I want to set this up. You came out with your I'm out.
I did. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the power you have in your transparency, right?
I think that's the thing. I actually announced it. I said, that's it. I'm going to quit doing video after 30 days because I just didn't have, I was relying too much on the numbers, and I seen my engagement physically drop. So then I thought, well, maybe people are not really bothered about me doing daily videos. So then that made me think a little bit more about, well, why am I doing this, type of challenge. And then I thought, right, I'm going to push to 30 days and then see where we go. And then eventually I just did one day after another, and then slowly built up. And I thought, you know what, this isn't really as bad as I thought, because then I forgot about the numbers. I wasn't really paying attention. I was just concentrating on trying to produce a video that looked half decent and get it out there. So I think that really kept me on. And then it got to the tipping stage of about 45 days when I thought, you know what, I can actually do this now. I can actually push on through to 90 days. And then obviously with your guys' motivation, I think that really helped a lot more, because there was certainly times from 45 to 90 where I did think about quitting because it was late in the day. And, but yeah, we got there. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And, the thing about what was most interesting when you came out with that was there was no judgment from me.
Mm-hmm.
And before this commitment, I probably would have been like, you're a quitter. But because I know exactly what you're going through, I'm like, dude, there is nothing, there are no ill thoughts. There are no like, suck it up, man. I was just like, dude, if you got, because the return on our investment is not monetary. We're not celebrities. We're not famous. We're not any of the Milwaukee Magic. I mean, those guys are just thousands and thousands of views. So I felt, I almost was like, do it for me too. It really did encourage me. What caused you to, now a couple of questions. At the 30-day mark, you revealed, is that what you're saying, the video, or was it a video or just a text?
No, I did a video at day 24 saying that I'm going to give up, and then I'm just going to continue to do text and picture posts.
Perfect.
But then it was about 30 days that I thought, I'm just going to carry on with the video.
Oh, got it. Okay. So before day 24, are you saying that you had said to yourself, oh, this is not happening, my numbers are down or whatever, and then on day 24 is when you announce it?
Yeah, that was it. So I'd been tracking all my numbers from day one, and the first 2 weeks were really good, and then the week 3 and 4 were really poor in terms of engagement and in terms of numbers and all that. And then I kind of got caught up in the numbers game, because I was caring about how the video was performing as opposed to what the actual content about the video was about, or maybe just doing the job really. And I think that was the tipping point for me, where I thought, I don't want to do this, because I don't want to have to log in and look at the numbers and turn and see that they were on a continual decline. And I think that's where it got me. But then deciding, well, because I'd made the cutoff point at 30 days between the 24 and 30, I hadn't looked at the numbers. I'd literally just said, right, let's put a video out. And then I thought, well, actually, this isn't that bad. And then I felt a bit better about myself, I guess. So, that was it. It was definitely a journey of discovery in that week.
Yeah, I remember, Alan, you and I had a conversation in the messages too about that. Yeah. Like, do what's best for you.
Yeah,
That's
Nick,
it.
No
same
judgment,
thing,
man.
right? Yeah, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have judged him either, right? Because you know
No,
what,
that's more.
No.
You know, if you've literally when you were at 24 days, you have done more than most people do on LinkedIn. I guarantee a lot of these people you say here they're going to do the 30-day video challenges. Look at them again in like 2.5 weeks and see if they're still actually posting video. It's difficult. It's not easy, and nobody's going to judge anybody for not doing it. You know.
That's it. I think we had it. Well, I just started the videos, and I think it was about day 2 or 3. And Troy, you sent a video message, to everyone saying it's hard. You're going to get these, and I remember listening to that back, thinking, you know what, it is hard, but just got to push on through.
Yeah. And my side hustle is coaching, not like a life coach or whatnot, more around audience engagement. And I do believe video is the medium to use when you engage your audience. And one of the things that I teach on happiness is the ability to win. And I think it's for any gender, women or man. And that those are the only genders, by the way. So for me, when I looked at doing this, it was a win. And it was a win that I can control. I'm in sales. I can't control someone buying from me. As much as effort that I put into it and the calls that I make and so forth, activity, you can never force someone to buy. And so I controlled whether or not I did a video. And the data, I forget what book it's called, How to Stop Worrying by Dale Carnegie, I believe. Mm-hmm. He writes about the importance of winning and setting up these small incremental tasks that only you can control when you wake up, what you eat, exercising, and so forth. Well, this was something that we all controlled. And I think for me, that was when I tell people, it's like, you know what, maybe you don't get a lot of views, but we've shown ourselves, we set a goal and we did it. No matter what, even if it was 11:30 p.m., right? It still counts. We did it. And to me, that's the path to happiness, is winning on a daily basis. One question I have for you guys is the support system, right? The support system at your house. Nick, how was your family in supporting you on this? Was it like your wife just like, this is ridiculous? I mean, how was that like? What was that like?
No, I mean, I do a ton of stuff already anyways. So my wife was like, well, where are you going to find time to do that? Yeah. Outside of already running a podcast and managing all that logistically. But my wife was great. She was literally watching me try to do one of my videos one time. And she's like, stop trying to make it so perfect and just make the freaking video already. I was like, heard that. I'm just trying to I just wanted to have one perfect clean take. And I think that's the one thing I suffer from the most, is probably trying to make stuff too perfect when it just needs to get done. When sometimes good enough is just good enough. But my wife was great, and like I said, she reminded me to make a video that one day. I might have missed a day if she didn't say something about that, but it was great.
That is great. How about you, Alan? Support system at home, what was it like?
Yeah, exactly the same, to be honest. There's been times where I didn't want to do the video. My wife's been like, you've got to go and do your video, get it done.
That's great.
And it was a good motivator type of thing, because then it makes you realize that it's not just like you that you're doing the challenge for, it's other people. Because even though my wife is not on LinkedIn and is not there to see the videos and that kind of thing, she understood that it meant something to me personally. So it was that kind of that gentle nudge of you need to get this done, so get it done. A bit like Nick, you've just got, sometimes you try and be perfect, but you can't. You just got to get the video done in the end. So
yeah. Nick, what would you, looking back, what would you like? You've got Nick today and you've got Nick before starting. What would you tell your former self? What kind of coach advice would you give that person?
Yeah, I think I would say to like the first 14 days, I actually wasn't writing down what I was posting, and I was going back through my feed to remember what I was doing. And I thought to myself, I was like, why didn't I plan this out like I plan out my production schedule for my podcast. And then you actually sent me the Excel spreadsheet, and I was like, well, why didn't I do this in the first place? So I think for me, it would probably be to be a little bit more organized. Not that I need to stick to the plan perfectly, but I at least need to lay something out a couple days ahead of time. Let me gather my thoughts and then record a video. At least for me, I can't just say I'm going to record X and then sit down and record it. I at least need to think about it for a few minutes before I sit down and record it.
Sure. Alan, how about you? What would you tell?
Exactly the same, to be honest, because like for me, most of my videos, in fact, I think there was only like 5 or 6 videos tops that I didn't do on the day. So that's one of the big things that I'm going to continue doing, like is planning content, because while I have an idea of some of the topics I'd like to talk about, I think to really drill down, and then because most of the time I just literally got on the video, and I think that helped with the authenticity a little bit, because I literally was just talking about whatever was in my mind that particular moment. But I think then kind of the content suffered a little bit on that basis, because I hadn't really planned what I was going to deliver to my audience, because people are there to watch a video for a particular reason, and 9 times out of 10 it's not because they like you, it's because they like what you're saying or what you're going to bring them value or something like that. So I definitely think planning the content out is going to be one to do next time. So I'll answer the question for myself. If I think my today, telling the person before starting, I think I would say, really think about it. And so that's what I would tell in my previous. In this 90-day journey, have you now reconsidered your life and the power of video or film or any type of storytelling? Has that, before you started, are you a different person now based on this experience relating to using the medium of video? Firstly, like yourself, I'm interested in films, and I would like to do maybe some kind of on-screen acting part or something in the future, but that's like a little project for the future maybe. But definitely one of the things that I've continued to I'm carrying on with the videos every day, so I think I'm going to do that. But it's definitely given me a different thought process between like doing video, so more on this storytelling element, and turn around and see whether we can encompass some of the, like you say, the film, the cinematic elements to daily videos, because I think if you can tell a story, then it doesn't really matter what the content is as such, because you're taking someone on a journey, whether that journey lasts 30 seconds or 3 hours, it doesn't really matter. You're still taking them on that journey. And I think that's one thing that I want to try and explore more in the next coming months.
Cool. Nick, how about you? Any, from where you were before you started to where you are now, and is video now you're thinking, whether it's tomorrow or down the road, is this maybe even a career, or what are your thoughts on your new friend video?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, initially just doing the challenge was just getting out of my comfort zone. But then it reminded me of the things that I used to like doing with video, like when that first iMac came out with iMovie in the mid 2000s. And I just see it as a medium, like Alan said, it's a way to tell a story, right? I tell stories all the time now and have interviews in an audio format. And this allows me to, I upped my chops actually on video editing and just production in general, what you guys saw as the time went on. And like Alan said, it's about telling the story. And I'm only pretty recently active on LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've only been active maybe since about December. So for me, just the foray into social media has allowed me to kind of put myself forward for people to know who I am. I kind of got stuck on this thing. So a good friend of mine, Tom G. O'Neill, who was a photographer, took the Crosby, Stills and Nash Deja Vu album cover. He's been a friend of mine for a number of years, and he would just always show me all these videos that him and his son Dugan O'Neill did. And his son's a director, directs commercials and everything, did a Sprint commercial, and he was in it. And I was just like, man, that is so cool. You know, I'm going to start doing this. And he's like, you know what? He goes, you know, he said, when you create from the heart, then people will understand you. And that's literally just where I grew from this. Yeah. So long-winded answer.
No, it's good. But that's really good. So, will you ever do it again, Nick? The challenge part. Let me preface it, because right now we know what the rhythm is like. We know what the cadence is and so forth. And there are one person, and I don't want to mention names, but you guys will know who I'm talking about. One person didn't join us, but we got connected with them, and he congratulated me on day 90. And I added a message, and I was like, thank you. What day are you on? And his response was 110. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's Gabriel. Yeah.
And so I'm just like, okay, that's so he's not doing a challenge, right?
No.
He's just doing video. And then another guy, if you know the name, let's not mention the name. Another guy wanted to join us, and after the first or second day, he was out, right? Mm-hmm. You just realize that, like, oh my goodness, this. And again, no judgment. It's hard to do.
No.
I sent the same message that I sent you, Alan. It's like, be ready. I mean, understand this is we're here for you, and that it's hard. So on the challenge part, like, Nick, would you do this again in related to like the challenge?
So I could probably do the challenge again. Would I willingly do it? Like it's like you posted, if I do it again, it's by mistake, right? Mm-hmm. But if someone were to challenge me and hop on again, and somebody wanted me to do it so that somebody I know very well, you know, for that accountability, to help pull somebody else along, I would probably do it again. It's not a hard, fast yes or no for me. It needs like the perfect circumstances to arise for me to do it again. And, you know, Alan right there, he's still going. So
That's right. Yeah. Alan, how about you? Would you ever do a challenge like this again?
Do you know what? I would, but I'd do it differently. I wouldn't just hop on and say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it starting now, because I think that was pretty poor on my behalf. But I think I'd definitely do it planned out to say, I mean, my goal now is just to do daily videos and see where that takes me. And then if I decide to stop tomorrow, then I stop tomorrow, and I've got nothing to lose on that aspect. Mm-hmm. But I think doing 90 days, I would definitely plan the content and then do batch shooting and batch editing, because I think there was definitely some days during the challenge where the content suffered and my mentality to the challenge itself suffered a little bit, because really I just didn't have something to say. And I think that's kind of the thing. If you schedule out your content, at least then you're doing 4 to 5 days in a row. So you get time to have that downtime and a little bit of a break from doing the continual videoing. So that's what I'm going to try and do anyway now. So batch content. So
yeah. And then just to give the audience an idea of, we're all different in our equipment. I use an iPhone 10s. Alan, what equipment do you use when you're filming?
Pretty much all of it, with the exception of Zoom calls that I did, has been on my phone. So I've got
what phone is that?
It's an Android, Huawei, is it?
Okay.
Huawei. Yeah. So it's really good camera, to be fair. And then I have got a standalone camera, but it was extra setup time, you know, and like you say, a lot of the videos for me were late on in the evening, so it was just handier for me to use what I had to hand, the phone. So. Mm-hmm.
And then Nick, we've seen your setup evolve. You're showing off right now with the blue light and all that. What's your setup like? Tell us.
So let me preface some of this. I'm huge into photography. I love photography. So I had a lot of the stuff already. I just wasn't using it for video. Yeah. So if anyone's thinking about starting this, you know, I started doing most of, you know, the videos with my phone, because it was a challenge just for me to figure out the captions and figure out the content, that setting up lights and setting up my mirrorless camera And, setting up my shot was more work than I wanted to put in for just figuring out how to do this. And it wasn't till I was probably almost 3/4 of the way through where I hit a groove and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Then I started using my actual equipment that I have. So, I have some LED lights, that can do blue and yellow, some newer lights. I've got a Olympus, mirrorless camera with a prime lens, 35 millimeter, 1.8 focal length. I'm getting way into the jargon here. What's that?
Yeah. Is that what you're on now?
I am not on that. This is just my webcam.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, I've got a tripod and I've got all kinds of stuff photography. So I don't have the normal setup that somebody probably would. The reason my production quality had shot up is because I had the stuff sitting around and I figured out my flow and my cadence, and then I was able to actually use it. So I wouldn't recommend people go out to buy that stuff unless you're ever going to actually use it.
Yeah. We'll end with this on, like, what advice would you give to overcome because we all go through imposter syndrome. I'm assuming we all have doubted ourselves. Like, you suck. You shouldn't be doing. You're not qualified to do this, right? How do you guys overcome, Alan? How do you overcome that? Those thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, the imposter syndrome type of thing. The way that I overcome that was just because I had to do the video, and if I didn't do the video, then I wasn't going to be able to do that. So I think and that kind of helped me a little bit, because if I'd have scheduled and then, like you said, maybe shot 2 or 3 days, and then if I hadn't picked up the camera, I could have then maybe fell by the wayside a little bit. But just because I had to do the video, and then I'd put that onus on myself a little bit to do it. But my advice to other people thinking about doing it would be, just do it and then figure it out as you go. Because if you're trying to pre-plan everything, then you're going to get to the stage where you think, well, what's the point in doing this? Because I don't really have anything to say. Where it certainly, for me personally, it took me like 40, 50 days before I found a groove to get into a little rhythm where I had a workaround to do captions, and, I uploaded to YouTube and did the captions, that side of it, and, used editing software to try and get a bit more of a polished look on it. But, certainly the first 50 days, it was just literally me on a phone, uploaded whatever I had, and yeah, just do it, figure it out when you get it.
Yeah. Nick, how about you?
Yeah, I think my comments would go along with Alan's, is just to do it, especially when we're just talking about LinkedIn, social media. Just post about the things you know about, whether they have to do with business or not. I did so many posts that had nothing to do with business, like my IT support one, and it's just my experience working in IT. And it was my most popular video by far. And I think the idea is not to overthink it, right? You can look at the influencer, see how they're doing video. It's a good reference point, but I would say try to do your own thing, right? You see, Shay and all those people who are really popular on video, but try to go do your own thing. Try to be you, right? The same thing I would try to think about is if I were talking to my younger self. If I wanted to say something to my younger self, what would I say when I went to set up a video about something? So short is just do it, and you'll find your voice as you go.
It's a really interesting point there. Sorry to jump on. Like, one thing that I've started to do at the moment is just share tips that I think would benefit myself. So, if I was just starting LinkedIn at the moment, I've been sharing a couple of really, really basic tips. It could be, to customize your URL, but I find value in that myself, or I would have liked to have known that earlier. So that's kind of the content that I've been sharing of late. And I think, you will find your own rhythm, and definitely don't be trying to follow the influencers, because you do get caught up in that bubble trying to think, oh, well, I've got to do a video like them, and that's not you. You just then become a copycat and find your own voice.
Yeah. And so for me, what I would how to overcome that imposter syndrome for me is the record it on your own, and don't publish it, and get your phone out. I mean, there's really no excuse, because the phones are so good. And then, do you have something to say, right? If you don't have something to say, if there's not something on your heart, and you're just trying to do it because Troy thinks it will be good, that's not going to work either. I mean, there has to be something that you find valuable. And Alan, I'm going to piggyback off what you said. So I do a daily podcast, micro podcast, and I average 20 listeners, right? And it's been almost 2 years, about a year and a half now. And I don't ever think about quitting because when I go running, sometimes I'll listen to myself. And it does two things. One, it's talking to me. I'm my first audience. And two, I can see where I can get better. And so when you record yourself, you will see where you need to get better. The imposter syndrome is pointing to some type of score. And so find out what that score is. It's important to you, and then work on that as you start to release it. And so pull out your phone and record yourself. Again, portrait mode is more personal, landscapes that are more professional. So try it with or without makeup. Try, voice inflections and just play around with it in your own private moments. And then you look at it and say, oh, it can get better. I can get better this way and that way. And actors have been doing this for years, right? I mean, that's just what you do is to get better. So that would be my 2 cents on overcoming imposter syndrome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you jumping on here. And none of you have this as a side gig, do you? Or are you willing to help others for hire or for not? Are you kind of taking what you've learned to help others?
Yeah, I'd like to, not necessarily for hire, but I'd like to, obviously, if anybody's considering doing video and they want some pointers, I'm available for a bit of pointers and that type of thing, but nothing for hire.
Yeah. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same lines as Alan. I don't mind helping people out. Do I want to be some type of video coach, ninja? Probably not. I'm already a shogun, so I can't be a ninja. Then I'd have to attack myself, and that just doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. You guys are absolutely represent the guests on this podcast. The Always Go Big podcast is for those that think big and for those who have made it big. Remember, guys, in business and in life, never go small, always go big. Thanks.